Hey y'all. Hey. Hello. Welcome to the live. If you guys can hear me and hear me well, please give me a thumbs up emoji in the comments because, I like to know that y'all can hear me and hear me well. Give me a thumbs up emoji. Let me know y'all here and part of the vibe. Okay, good. I see it. I see it. I see it. All right. I want to talk about a few things, but I'm gonna get a couple things out the way first because I already know y'all probably gonna have some questions and comments and what have you. Um, yeah, I wanted to talk about this issue because, I've seen it all over, like all online. And I don't know, like I haven't gotten deep into the details of what's been going on, but I just know I see it happening too often. You know what I'm saying? I see things happening all the time and it's like we haven't gotten hip to the plays yet. Like I feel like at some point as a community, we should see that there's a pattern of things happening, you know what I'm saying? And protect ourselves against that pattern. The title of this live is Losing It All Over Lust. Y'all ain't tired yet. You know what I'm saying? Because as a woman, we have a different set of standards that we like different things that we fear, you know what I'm saying? Like our fears are very valid, but a lot of times, like a lot of men accusing us of assault is not one of those fears, you know what I'm saying? That's something that you guys have to deal with, like a lot of the men folk. And it's like we've seen it happen time and time again. And at some point, we got to move a little smarter than how we do, you know? And this goes back to a live that I did a few weeks ago about having emotional control and having sexual control is another topic that I feel like goes hand in hand with that. There's a lot of people that end up in like very crazy positions and situations because they was dealing with the wrong folk, men and women alike, that was dealing with the wrong folk and dealing with people that just want to use them. You feel me? And in this day and age, it's like you have to really be privy to being used, like especially well, men and women alike, because I used to think that, you know, predominantly women would be clout chasers and stuff, but after dating a fan and realizing that men could definitely be clout chasers, men and women alike have to like really pay attention to some things. But let me look at some of the comments real quick. So you guys started commenting before the live even started. Inglewood edition, I appreciate you for being in the live. He said, Buddy got outsmarted by OnlyFans creator who just recently graduated high school. Yikes. You see, I don't even know all of that to know whether or not that's the case. Blacklight said, I still ain't forgot how he talked down on Kyrie when the NBA was trying to get rid of him. So I don't feel bad for him. You know, I mean, I understand that. I'm not saying that anybody got to have, empathy. That's up to you if you want to have that. William Ivory said, losing it all over lust, got to have self control. Yeah. Like, I know that that's a big thing. Like, of course, I'm not a man and I've never been a man and I don't want to be. I actually really enjoy being a woman. You know what I'm saying? It's fire. But, brothers, like, I want to ask you because I know it'd be a lot of men in the live. What is it about like I know sex feel real good. You feel me? I like it. And I know the men folks say that it feels just completely different for y'all and it's just one of the best things in life and all of that. I get. But like what is it about it that y'all would like not y'all, but some men would squander like your whole career, your whole reputation, all of that over the allure of like being intimate with a woman. I just don't understand. And I feel like it stems from I don't know. I feel like it stems from a power thing. You know what I'm saying? But I could be wrong. You guys give me some of y'all reasons in the comments. Like I know some of you guys might have had like a like a phase in your teenage years where you was just trying to knock down as many women as you could and all that kind of stuff. Like what what prompts this idea that I know some men have put themselves in dangerous situations, have gone over to meet a girl, knowing that she could be setting them up to get robbed, but go over there anyway because the allure of sex is just too strong. It overpowers common sense, ramifications for your actions, consequences, and all of that. And that's something that I feel like we got to study and see why? Why is that like such a an alluring thing for some men? Let me look at some more of the comments. And while I'm looking at these comments, I do want to make note that the reason why I'm having a live today instead of tomorrow is because I have plans tomorrow. It's my birthday weekend, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm excited for my birthday. If anybody want to spread love on the live, you could definitely super chat. You know, I have a little goal up there. And if I reach my super chat goal, I'll do a live Q&A where y'all can ask me any and everything you want to, even though y'all already be doing that in the comments. But, you know, I'll answer all the questions. Or you can stream my music. That'll be a wonderful birthday present for me. Stream my music, go run them numbers up, or cash at me if you want for my birthday. But yeah, back into the live. Somebody Inglewood Edition said happy birthday, Erica, and welcome to the EL and welcome to the EL family. He's talking to the chat. Thank you. Guys said the audio is good. Boss player MFS said at the end of the day, people like what they like. You know, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I don't getting what you like, liking what you like. Because as a grown woman, like a man that's 10 years younger than me ain't got nothing for me. Like they remind me of my little nephews. And it's like, you know, my little nephews, they you feel me, like bird chest, little flimsy something, ain't got no man weight on them. But I've always liked men that were older than me. That's just been my thing. So I really can't do nothing with no 20-year-old man, no 25-year-old man, even like you too young. You know what I'm saying? You get out of my face. But anyway, somebody said Anaya Israel said, finally caught alive. I appreciate you being on the live. Thank you so much. Um, let me see. John Lanford said, sexual immorality in the flesh is the detestable sin of abomination, prophecy on throughout the scriptures. Most commandments involved fleshy sexual desires, Jezebel's spirit. Well, you know, I feel like that is one of the major issues with our society. And I wanted to talk about that in addition to like those tweets that Kanye West had posted as well. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like those two go hand in hand. I feel like there's a over sexualization of our men specifically because it was something that was done when we were younger. I feel like a lot of children be exposed to stuff way too early, and as a result, you know, a lot of men I know first experiences be with women that was way older than them, grown women, while they was teenagers or younger. And you know, that be the case a lot of the time, and it alludes to this idea that you're not a man if you're not knocking down as many women as you can and all of that. Like, and as the men, some men get older, and some people, you know, I'm not just gonna put this as on men, but as some people get older, you know, it becomes like it's just it's a thing. It's what you've been doing now, so stopping is kind of hard. Um, all the people that's saying happy birthday, I appreciate you all. Blacklight, thank you so much for the super chat. And telling me happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate it. Junior Coleman said there isn't a real answer to that question. For each man, it's different. Strong men have been taken down by the beauty of a woman like Samson. Samson, that story of Samson is kind of crazy. For you guys who don't know the story of Samson and Delilah in the Bible. Delilah was working with his enemies because Samson was very strong, but his strength was in his hair, you know, and cutting his hair would like kill his strength basically. And so Delilah kept asking him what was the source of his strength, and he kept telling her the wrong answers. And every time he'd tell her the wrong answers, his enemies would come and do what he said. You know, so it's like common sense should have told him like, oh, she's telling them, you know, my source of strength, you know. But like the third time that she asked him, he told her the truth. My strength is in my hair. And so his enemies came and cut his hair, and he wasn't strong no more. You feel me? And they captured him, and they had him in the center of the festival. They was having a party like, we captured Samson, we got him up out of here, you know, all of that good stuff. And then, you know, he asked God to give him strength one more time so he can kill up everybody in the festival. And God did. God gave him strength, and he pulled the pillars down and killed up everybody. And that's the story of Samson and Delilah. But yeah, you guys, men, y'all got to stay away from them Delilahs, you know, them young girls that, you know, first of all, like I said, I don't really understand the allure of dealing with somebody that's significantly younger than you. As a woman, I could never, because them little boys be reminding me of my, you feel me, and my little nephews. Like I could be your mama. That's how I feel about it. Even though I look young myself, I look at it like I could literally be your mother. Get out of my face. You know. So it's kind of crazy. But going further into what I wanted to talk about in regards to having the discipline, like there there are gonna be women, and I got a lot of flack for saying this on TikTok. I compared it to rocks and diamonds, right? And that's why the people on TikTok were so mad at me. They was calling me all sorts of names and making all sorts of videos about why I was so stupid and how I'm not a girl's girl and all this other kind of stuff, because I understand the reality of life. The same way there are certain type of men that women need to stay away from, like men that raise their voice and start yelling, or men that exude like extreme anger problems, or men that are inconsiderate, and want to do things. It don't matter how you feel. Like a man that wants to be intimate with you if you like not in the mood or sad or whatever. They don't care, because it's not about how you feel at all. It's about just them. We know as women, like we could name that there's certain type of men that we should stay away from, and nobody like makes us feel bad for acknowledging that. But men, y'all have to know that a certain type of women, you feel me, that you need to stay away from. And I made this comparison on TikTok a couple of years ago about like diamonds and glass, you feel me? Or diamonds and rocks is what I said, I think. Like if you want you some rocks, you can go and pick them up on the side of the road. I have a rock collection over there, and I know that sounds geeky as hell, but I do. Different continents that I've been to, I've collected rocks and I've brought them back home with me. I got rocks from the Mediterranean Sea, from the Sahara Desert, from a volcano in Hawaii. I got rocks from the Grand Canyon. You know what I'm saying? I got a rock collection. But I didn't have to go and like no one was stopping me from getting them rocks. I could just pick them up and take them with me because they're not considered valuable. You know what I'm saying? And I know, like, again, the women may get mad at me, but please stick with me on this, because there are men that are not valuable, and we don't have no problem with saying that. We have no problem with making that known, you know? And I'm not saying this in regards to the Shannon Sharp girl situation, because that's a 19-year-old girl and he shouldn't have been dealing with her in the first place. So let me just make that, let me look right into the camera. Let me make that very clear. This ain't no like caping for him. I'm just talking about in general, how many times we have seen men over and over again get these allegations, or women that's trying to get pregnant and extort them out of money and all this other kind of stuff. But Shannon Sharp is out of line for being that old and dealing with that young ass girl. Okay. I feel like that don't have to be said, but I'm gonna have to say it anyway. Back to what I was talking about. Now, if you want to go and get some gold, you feel me? If you want some diamonds, that's a different kind of rock. It's a rock, but it's a different kind of rock. If you want to get that, you're gonna have to go into a jewelry store. And a lot of times the jewelry stores might have a security guard in there. They might have the diamonds in a glass case. You can't just go in there, pick it up, and leave. An associate had to come with a key and unlock it for you to see it and determine whether or not you're going to purchase it, right? All those things have to happen in order for you to get to the diamonds, is the point that I'm making. And so things that are seen as more valuable in society, and that's the only way I could put it, things that are seen as more valuable in society are going to have more layers of protection. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. And I know a lot of women got mad at me, but knowing like who to deal with can help you to stop you from losing it all over like lust, you know? Getting with a woman that has some standards about herself, getting with a woman that, you know, isn't like turned on by y'all money. And the craziest thing about men is that a lot of times you guys make comments like, oh, these women are gold diggers, but that's what you present. When a woman comes to you, you want to present like, oh, I got money. Look at me. I'm that dude, whatever. And then be surprised that she's only interested for your money, you know? And it's the same thing with us women. We can't be surprised when a man is only interested in us for our body, when that's the only thing that we showing him that we have, you know? I just try to be fair and unbiased in general when it comes to men and women alike. The same way we as women don't like to just be seen for our bodies. We can't just, that can't be the first thing that we put on. You feel me? We can't lead with that. And brothers, y'all be leading. Y'all be leading with your money. A lot of you do. Lead with your money and then be mad when women not moved by it, or get mad when a woman takes advantage of you. Of course, a 19-year-old girl dealing who's like, what 19-year-old girl is gonna pass up other men to deal with like a 50-something-year-old man? Be real. Come on. Let's not even play grandfather age. Know what you're getting into. know what you getting into. And the ladies that's on the live, if y'all up in here, I hope y'all understand where I'm coming from. This ain't to say that, we shouldn't protect women and women aren't valuable, but there's certain things that we can do that will make it harder for us to defend the fact that we are valuable is what I'll say. Presenting yourself with your body first and all of that, it's not the best line of action. The same way a man presenting himself with his money first, it's definitely not the best line of action. Let me read some of these comments. You feel me? I hope y'all you feel me. Jalen said, "Oh God, not yay talk." Yes, as a matter of fact, we halfway through the live, so that's a perfect time to pivot and talk about that because I feel like those two things are kind of interlinked. They have a correlation, not a direct correlation, but a correlation, and I'll get into exactly why. Everybody telling me happy birthday, thank you, I appreciate it. TZ Frank said, "I understand why he doesn't deal with older, bitter, masculine women, but 19 is just too young, even though she's considered a grown woman." See, it be comments like that where it's like, you was almost there. Thank you for the comment, but half of it was like, yeah, but the first half was like, why older women got to be bitter? You feel me? It be the type of thinking like you guys know that you attract what you think, right? Like, and that go for men and women alike. If I think that all these men out here are just low down dirty rats, that's the energy I exude. You feel me? And so if a good man did come to me, I treat him like trash because I already think he's terrible. And I'm only gonna get what I believe is available to me. I hope y'all know that. So you keep running into old, bitter, masculine women. Check your thoughts. You feel me? Check the laws of attraction and what you pulling towards yourself. Because that's a very real thing. Adam Burns said, "I just turned 30 today, and women younger than 26 act too much like children to me." Happy birthday, Adam Burns. And I appreciate that as men in here that understand, like, that ain't trying to justify that. Boss player MFS. I'm not even gonna read what you said. I see you trying to be shady, but it's okay. Um, Let me see. Someone said, "Cut my nigga locks off." I don't know what that is. Someone else said she ain't 40, is she? I'm definitely not 40, but thank you guys. My only let me see. Let me read some of these comments. Y'all just out of control here. I've had lava rocks from Hawaii are bad. I heard lava rocks from Hawaii bad luck. I mean, I guess not. I don't know. I really don't. I just picked it up and took it with me. I make my own luck. You feel me? Um, Let me see. Ducka Sick, I guess is what your name is, says the men that are not valuable are their women equivalents. See, y'all just be so ready. I know you typed that while I was yet formulating the sentence to answer your question. Y'all can't wait. If I start to say, man, y'all need to, before I even finish, what were the women? What about the women? I knocked down my light doing that, being extra. But yeah, like let me finish the statement. Y'all know I'm fair. Y'all should by now. Hopefully. You know what I'm saying? I see comments being deleted. Damn. What y'all been saying? You know? Okay, yeah, let's not be over the top with the if the comments ain't too crazy, let them rock. You feel me? But yeah, I appreciate that. Brian Fegan said exactly, we attracted each other. Yeah, like that's important to know that. Let me see. The light is right in my face, so that's why I'm squinting. Um, Let me see. I don't know. I'm reading some of these comments. I'm like, what y'all talking about? But anyway, so let me get to the other part of life because I'm only going to be on for another 10 minutes. You feel me? You all like we have to develop our sexual discipline as a people. And I know people don't like hearing that because it's like if you want to get into something, you want to get into something. I get it, right? But developing your discipline is imperative. We wouldn't be having all these diseases floating around. We wouldn't have all these unplanned pregnancies or these broken homes if we just vetted people and dealt with the right kind of people. And this idea of like having to get your rocks off or having to do this and having to have this other kind of person, I feel was something that was rooted in the fact that masculinity at a young age is seen with how many women you can knock down. I saw a post from a man, I can't remember his name. I cannot remember the name, but I watched the whole video. He was talking about how he went over to he was with his cousin, and his cousin went over to his girlfriend house, right? And him and like his cousin and his girlfriends went into the room and they started getting it in. And so the girlfriend had a little sister. And so he was there with the little sister and they were talking and everything, but they didn't do nothing. They were just having a conversation because he didn't know her, you know. They was just having a conversation. So when him and his cousin get ready to leave, his cousin asked him as they like driving home, the dude I think was like 16. His cousin asked him while he's driving home, like, so did you do anything with the little sister? And then he was like, no, like I don't know her, you know? And so the cousin was like, are you a virgin? And the dude was like, I've never had sex before. And so his cousin laughed at him, right? And when he gets to the house, the cousin tells the whole family, the dude mama included, like, oh, such and such still a virgin. And everybody laugh at him. Even his own mama laugh at him for still being a virgin at 16. And so the next week he called up some girl that he knew that liked him. Not somebody that he loved or cared about, but just a girl that he knew would go for it. And decided he was going to lose his virginity because he felt marred. You know what I'm saying? He felt like, everybody was making fun of him as a result. And he just got to do it just so that he no longer has that title of being a virgin. Right. And that was the pressure that he faced growing up he was a young, I mean, well, he's definitely an older black man now, but that was what was taught to him, that something was wrong with him for not being with a woman yet, or not having sex at 16. At 16, I wasn't having sex. I ain't never even kissed nobody before at 16. You know what I'm saying? I didn't start getting into stuff until my early 20s. And I'm happy that I did that because I felt like I waited for a person that I knew would appreciate me and a person that wouldn't do me dirty. You feel me? Because a lot of my homegirls got horror stories. Their first time, the dude didn't care about him at all. After they was finished, he had to walk home and stuff like that. Like, I was like, that ain't gonna be my story. You feel me? I'm gonna be with somebody that care about me and loves me. And that's what I waited for, you know? And so, yeah. So I feel like a lot of times, like this idea, like that men and women, black men and women alike are sexualized so much. We are sexualized all the time, and we are sexualized so much to where we think it's natural. How many of you in the live, I just want to ask y'all real quick, was introduced to pornography at a young age? Like before you even really started going through puberty? How many of you? And be honest, you feel me? How many of you saw a little something, whether it was a magazine or a video or something like that? I'm gonna tell you guys, for me, I was 9 when I accidentally stumbled upon a video. You feel me? I wanted to watch a movie, like we had a DVD player. Again, telling my age. We had a DVD player. And I wanted to watch. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a DVD. It was a VCR, a cassette. I mean, what they called them, a videotape. That's what they called them back then. And I was trying to watch like The Lion King or something. It was some movie I wanted to watch that we had on VHS. And in the VCR was like a tape, right? As soon as I turned the VCR on, I didn't know it was nothing in there. They just started playing because I got a bunch of older brothers. I have 4 siblings, 4 brothers. 3 of them are older than me and a younger brother, right? And so they had left they VHS in the VCR. And so it came on and I'm just like, what is this? And now my interest is peaked. I'm only 9 years old. It's too young. You know what I'm saying? My interest is peaked. Now I'm curious as to what's going on. What is this here? And it's making me feel some type of way. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, before I get into it, the reason before I get into the reason why I'm bringing this up, let me look at some of the answers in the live. You feel me? Because I asked you guys a question. How old were you? And Fresh said I was introduced at 12. Look at that. Too young. Anaya Israel says sexual discipline is deeply needed in our community. Our attraction to our own race must be unwavering because we are a beautiful and powerful people. You feel me? You know what it is. Yes, I agree with that statement. Someone said Adam Burns said the first time I saw it was a VHS tape at 6. Look at that. Another person, I was the age of 12. Someone else said 9. Somebody else said 11. Magazine when I was like 8. Too young. Way too young. See, this is what I'm talking about. And going back to Kanye's tweets, right? And I know like this part of live, y'all like, I don't want to hear nothing about Kanye. I understand. But we got to talk about this. He had talked about how he saw some stuff and he introduced his cousin to it. You know, I don't know how old both of them were, but they were both children. And they said it went on from like until he was 14 years old, you know, doing stuff with his male cousin because he was emulating what he saw in those magazines, right? And a lot of people will try to like be like, "Oh, he's sick, he was a child." And that happens a lot. Children be seeing stuff, whether it's on movies or whatever. They see stuff and they introduce it to other children. You know, I remember being 11 years old and one of my friends asking me if I spit or swallow, and I didn't know what she was talking about. And I was just like, "What?" And everybody else started laughing, and I'm like, I don't get it, you know? But her being that age, why do you know about that at 11 years old? Like what have you been introduced to at that age? You know, and a reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like this over sexualization at a young age is what is contributing to, you know, a lack of discipline as we get older, because that's all we know. You know what I'm saying? We've seen certain things and it's like you want to act on it, and you've been acting on it, and acting on it for men a lot of time make y'all feel more like men, more like you've accomplished something because you've conquered this woman or how many other women that you've been with, you know. We have to talk about these things. We have to talk about it. And I personally, um, you know, after that, the internet came around and there was access to it, and it was very easy to see and watch pornography. You feel me? And so I was watching, even though I wasn't like doing nothing, you feel me? I was watching. You know, I didn't start doing nothing until I, like I said, I got in my early 20s, you know, and I had to make a conscious decision a few years ago that I wasn't gonna watch it at all no more, because I feel like it's something that a lot of times we shouldn't even have in the house. You feel me? We shouldn't have, so that children have access to it. And I know with the invention of the internet, it's like impossible to keep them away from it because it's all over social media, it's all over Twitter, it be everywhere, you know. But we have to like think about the next generation of protecting them from this over sexualization, even in the TV shows. Nowadays, the TV shows, you know, I remember being young and I used to, you know, out of curiosity, put on Real Sex. Remember on HBO? Back in the day, they had that show and it was like it was softcore porn. But now they're like that stuff is hella tame compared to just the regular sex scenes in these shows. These shows are like bordering hardcore pornography. And it's like, damn, like you used to have to watch late night TV. You used to have to watch like Uncut on BT in the middle of the night to see what you could casually see at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning on some of these networks, you know? And I know a lot of people might be like rocking with it even now. Like if you're on a live and you watch pornography, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I'm telling you, you need to stop. You feel me? And the reason I say this is because um it just poisons something that is incredibly sacred. First of all, we shouldn't, our idea of it shouldn't be like just getting our rocks off. Is being intimate with a person is the most personal and intimate thing that you could do with somebody, you know. And it shouldn't, like it shouldn't be about just knocking down as many people as you can, or I got an itch I need to scratch, you know, all the stuff that we like to say, like, oh, I ain't had sex in 2 months and I'm past due or whatever. Like, no, you don't need to. Like, just chill. You feel me? Especially if you're not concerned with the person and you don't love that person. You know, like we have to bring the love back into love making. And it gets better. I'm telling you, it gets so much better. When I stopped watching pornography, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, that's when like sex was nice before, but that's when it became like, oh nigga, like this is, I didn't know it could be like this. Because for women specifically, for any women that's on a live, it's very mental for us. You know what I'm saying? And we, a lot of times we won't get where we need to go if we're not invested mentally. And if you can't put yourself in a certain state by just your thoughts alone, then a lot of times you're not going to get there no matter what the man is doing. I have a few homegirls who have never gotten there ever in their life. Like they just going through the motions. It's like, this is very unfortunate. This is sad, but they do it because they, you know, they know that the men that they like to do it, you know, but they don't really enjoy themselves. But yeah, it was a whole nother level of enjoyment when I really started to tap into my minds and my emotions and utilize my thoughts, my memories of the past, or my fantasies of the future in the current moment that I was in. And I was more invested, and it just became way better. That's all. That's what I'm going to say about that. And then there's no guilt and stigma around it as well. You guys know that when you be looking at pornography, after you finish, how you feel about yourself. You be like, damn. Mm. I don't know about this. Yeah, I ain't gonna do this no more. Yeah, this ain't the vibe. I don't know about y'all, but that's how I would feel afterwards. In the heat of the moment, I'd be like, ooh, aroused. But then afterwards, it's like, shame. And there should be no shame, no guilt associated with lovemaking. None whatsoever. You feel me? But there's shame, and it's shrouded in shame and guilt because we get introduced to it too young, and we look at things that are like shameful. Basically, the pornography is, and a lot of times it don't even be consensual. The girl don't even be having a good time at all. And we don't know it though, because women be putting on an act. We could definitely act, you know putting on an act, and we watching terrible stuff that's dirty in our spirit. But anyway, let me look into some of the comments, because I've been talking for 31 minutes, and you guys left a lot of comments, especially on this subject. I guess this is a hot topic. um Aunt Fresh said, why did you have such discipline to not act on your impulses at such a young age, Erica? um the reason why I didn't really get into doing anything until I was old enough to is because I grew up in a somewhat in a religious household. You feel me? And so my goal was to wait until marriage. That's what my goal was. And then I had homegirls that had been intimate prior, and their experiences didn't sound good. Not one of them had an experience that I was like, oh, that sounds nice, I want to do that. you know I'm not going to put their business out there, but their experiences didn't seem like it was nothing cool. And I just felt like the men, or they were boys then, the boys of my generation, like when I was going to school and talking to them, I have a lot of brothers. You feel me? I have four brothers, and I saw how they talked about women, and I saw how they didn't care about these girls, and they would just deal with them. And then the girls be acting crazy, calling the house, showing up, you feel me, at the house, beating on the door, because they're heartbroken, and my brothers don't give a damn. And that made me be like, yeah, i'm not gonna I'm not gonna do that with nobody. I don't even want to, because I really don't think that any of these people care about me. Like, all of these men that's like, well, they weren't men. All of these boys that's trying to talk to me and call me and get my number and stuff, they don't care about me, and I know they don't. And then my dad also told me when I was 9 years old that boys are young, dumb, and full of you got it. I didn't even know what that was at that age, but it stuck with me. you know. And yeah, so I waited until, I had a boyfriend, and we had been together for a whole 2 years before I decided to let that go. But that's what, the discipline just came from. I just felt like I was worth more than that, worth more than just a dude getting his rocks off and then telling the whole school about it. Cause that's all it was in high school. The boys just wanted to do it just to say that they did. And then you get that reputation of being a thought or whatever, just because, and it's like, I'm worth more. None of these young boys ain't got nothing for me. And then they don't know what they doing. These young boys don't know what they doing. They don't know the female anatomy. It ain't even gonna be a good time. You don't even know what I need. Like, what I'm gonna be doing getting into bed with you. But anyway, let me read some more of these comments. Um Dut React says it's worse nowadays. It's way too easy for kids to see that stuff. Yeah, it's hard, but we have to. If you have children, please try your best to protect them from the over sexualization at a young age, and have that conversation with them. That is one thing I will say. Like, with my nieces and nephews, or any like children that I've like been around that have asked me, like when they're curious, don't just tell them like, oh, you ain't old enough to talk about that yet. That ain't gonna make them go, okay, I'll wait until I'm old enough. Like, they're still curious, and they're gonna go and get the wrong information from one of their little stupid friends. So you better tell them. You better tell them. Like, it was a lady that was going to our church, and she had a daughter that was asking me all sorts of questions. And I told her, like, in secrecy, like, I'm not going to tell your mom, you can ask me whatever. Don't be afraid to ask, right? And she asked me a whole bunch of questions, and I answered all her questions. And then I told her mom, I didn't tell her mom what the girl asked, but I told her your daughter has a lot of curiosities and you need to talk to her cuz it sounds like she on the brink of doing some stuff. You feel me? So please have that conversation with her. I don't know if a conversation was had. I don't necessarily think it was because probably a year later that the girl ended up pregnant. You know what I'm saying? But you have to talk. This is the suspicions are, you know, all of that curiosity is not going to go away. You got to talk about it even if it's uncomfortable. That's one thing I will say about my parents. My mother talked to me. When I had questions, she answered them. She didn't leave me feeling like, "Oh, you're too young." I mean, if I'm old enough to ask, I'm old enough to know. you know? And so that took the taboo away, which made it like not something that like I had to go run to do because it wasn't as taboo because I had been taught about it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let me look some more and see what it is. Um, Someone said, I am on time said I was introduced at 6 years old. It derives from the lack of mental comfort when a man is urged and predominantly invested in seeing a form of induction to ease him. Most men surrender to such. Yeah, man. See, like a lot of us, we were a lot of the people in life, they're too young. Someone said it's being pushed in grade schools now. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Some of these comments are just disheartening. Okay. Person said, that's why I made love when I first started having sex. That's beautiful. Diabria Lee said, you better say that, sis. Thank you so much. Um, Let me go down to here. Look at this. Someone said, King George, the creator, said porn is demonic, a spiritual Trojan horse. Yes, I agree with you. I for sure agree with you. Um, Let me see. Let me go back and just there's a lot of comments. Um, oh, the comments and jump down to the bottom. Let me say. Someone said, "Good for you." I'm just trying to read some of these comments. And I'm gonna continue on with what I was saying. Thank you, everybody that's been telling me happy birthday. And Fred says your confidence is so important. It is. It is. You have to be confident enough to not be pressured into doing stuff that you're not ready to do. You know, like the story that I told you earlier about the man who felt pressured, you know, everybody laughing at him for still being a virgin. He felt he needed to do that in order to feel like a man, and it's sad. It's sad that we shouldn't have to be that way, you know. Let me see. Okay, I was just looking at that. Herc Owen said, good for you. Shout out to your mom. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to come on here and say. Like for those of us who are, might still be watching porn, I get it. You feel me? Like it, I understand the urges. I really do. But take some time to try to stop. If you feel that urge coming on to look at some, try to like, I'm not gonna tell you don't pay attention to the urge, you feel me? Because that's hard to do. But try to think with go in the mind first. You feel me? Go in the mind first before you do something else. And if you don't want to do that at all, go exercise, go do something physical to work that energy out, because we have to get away from that. Because the more we have it around, the more likely it is that our children are going to have access to it and see it at a young age and then start acting out what they see on their little cousins, their friends, their siblings, even. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to be mindful of like the ramifications of our action and understand that it's more than just like the things that we do affect more than just us, even if we're not realizing it. Because a lot of you all who said you were introduced to pornography at 9 years old, 6 years old, 11 years old, 13 years old, I'm sure it wasn't yours. I'm sure it was some older sibling, some older cousin, some parent, or somebody that had it, and you got into it and you saw it and you weren't supposed to, you know? So, yeah, that's what I want to say. I want to wrap this live up because I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. Um, the main lion, thank you so much for the super chat. He said, I think men have been given a pass to not practice discipline as if there are no repercussions. Well, the evidence of fallout is apparent in the state of ourselves, broken homes, and relationships. Thank you so much for the super chat and that comment. That's very true. That's very true. Like, we have to have more discipline, the men and women alike. Men, don't be dealing with just these women that just, you don't know what their motives are, whether or not they really like you or they just after you for your money and all that kind of stuff. Don't be dealing with these super young girls too. Like, that's crazy. Please. There's no need for that. Like, stop thinking that women that are older are just bitter and jaded and all that. You're gonna keep attracting what you say. And that's gonna be your testimony, you know? Nobody wants that. But yeah, let's develop our discipline. And that could start with just the elimination of pornography, getting that out the way, and see how much better it becomes for the women, especially. See how much better it become once you remove that from your life. Okay. It's a much better way to navigate. But yeah, having that discipline is very important. You don't want to, we have too many households where the family didn't stay together because they don't know enough about each other to stay together. We have too many people that grow up that don't have both their parents around. And I know that a two-parent household isn't just the holy grail, because that has its problems too, but it affords a lot more than having one parent that has to struggle and try to be both things to the child. You know what I'm saying? It offers a little bit of relief. So that is at least what we should aim for as a society, where some of that work is distributed between two parties that want to stay together and make it work. Please have just a bit more discipline. Let's work and have more discipline and not be dealing with, let's get like out of this conquering mindset of you have to knock down all the women, or oh, I can still pull a young girl. You feel me? Like, I get it. You feel like you want to still feel like the nigga. You could still pull this girl that's, oh, she fine. I could still, because a lot of men flirt for just that reason. A man flirted with me and had a whole fiance I didn't know about. You feel me? Now, mind you, we that didn't go nowhere. The most we ever did was a hug. I met him and we gave each other a hug. But the fact that she was all in my DMs and trying to get with me, not really, but flirting because you just wanted to see if you still got it, like all of that, knock all that off, because it leads to nonsense. you know have enough weight and root within yourself to where you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to prove nothing to yourself and nobody. You got it. I know I got it. I know I could deal with, it's man that I can make do whatever I want him to do if I wanted to. I know I can, but just because I can don't mean I should. I know me well enough to know that, I don't have to do that. It's not necessary. Anyway, Mayor 6, what, I'm sorry, I can't even read. Mayor 963, thank you so much for the super chat. He said happy birthday. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Okay, well, I'm about to get off the live. I just want to get on here and say that let's have some control and some discipline. Brothers, it's so much for y'all to lose everything. And ladies too, we could lose everything dealing with the wrong man. Because the same way a lot of the men like to say that women is out here trapping, is a lot of men that be out here trying to trap. Trust me, I know. A lot of men that be out here trying to catch a woman. And, like, I had an ex tell me that one time. Like, all I got to do is put a baby in you and you ain't going nowhere. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, we're done here. Like, you think soon as I start to get up the gall to leave, you gon' you know, create a new life as a means to control me? Wild behavior. But yeah, but that's all I want to say. Okay, at the end of that, you feel me? I've been talking for almost 45 minutes. I appreciate y'all. Um, I'm looking at some of these comments crazy. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. I appreciate y'all so much. Somebody said, would you date a guy over 50? I would not. Sorry. I don't mean to burst anybody's bubble, but I want to still have children. You know what I'm saying? And I want for the man to be up and agile and to be able to move and do things with the children just like me. Because I keep myself together. But yes, but thank you so much. I'm surprised that nobody is saying nothing about my hair. I thought that was gonna be the first thing y'all said. Like, oh my God, did you cut your hair? Because I sure did. But y'all ain't said a word. I like it though. It's so much easier to deal with. That's cute. And Precious, I love your hair. I love the look. Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate you. My dad was heartbroken. He said my hair is so long and beautiful. Why did I cut it? But yeah, I decided to give it a little chop. But yeah, that's all to say. Thank you guys for all the birthday wishes and the super chats and the comments and being a part of live. I will be back on my regular schedule next week, going live on Sunday. This live was, like I said, a Saturday live because I got birthday plans. But on Sunday, next Sunday, I'll be right back at it doing the same thing. Oh wait, is next Sunday? No, it's not. Next Monday is Cinco de Mayo. Well, y'all might be having parties. We'll play it by ear, but I'm still gonna go live every week. Okay, just know that whether or not it's next Sunday or maybe Saturday or whatever, I'm still gonna be here locked in with y'all because I'm being consistent and I like that about me. But anyway, thank y'all for being on live. Bye. Love y'all. Have a wonderful weekend.